Hello, and welcome to another edition of James Lott Jr. is the farmer and Jack Farmer is the DJ. I am the James Lott Jr. of the two, and he's the Jack Farmer of the two. Hi, Jack.
Hey, hey, James, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited about this one because we're talking about a genre that is not necessarily super popular 9 months out of the year, but for 3 months out of the year, it's something everyone talks about, and that's Christmas music.
Yes, and it's funny. There are people who make lots of money. Paul McCartney, Mariah Carey, myself, because I have 3 Christmas
I,
songs out,
I was
that
about to
every
say.
year I make a nice chunk of money this time of year. It's very interesting, very lucrative.
Yes, it is. But you know what's funny is it's not necessarily the easiest one to jump into because a lot of people have done it, and so there's a lot of competition out there when it comes to picking good Christmas songs.
So all my songs are originals. I have not done a remake yet. That's kind of on my
Hmm.
list. The first song I did
Yeah.
was called Santa, 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 Hurry Up, Santa. The reason why it became semi-popular because it was a techno song. So I decided to do a Christmas techno song.
Okay.
So because what you just said was what I thought. I go, well, it's like, I mean, I could do a song like everybody else does, and I'll probably get lost in the shuffle. So what can I do that will stand out every year? And that song does very well for
Smart.
me every year. It does very well for me. So it's a
Smart.
techno Christmas song.
I think your next adventure should be in making Thanksgiving songs. There's not any Thanksgiving songs.
Okay,
We
wait a
got
minute. Jack Farmer, you're reading my mind. So I've already written 4 Thanksgiving songs.
Does one of them have the word gobble in it? I
Yes,
feel like you got to have a gobble.
yes,
Does it really?
it does.
Yes.
And one song is about turkeys and game hens.
Love it.
My you just read my mind, Jack Farmer. My dream actually is to release a Thanksgiving Christmas album combined because no one does Thanksgiving. And I thought there's a lot of feelings
Yeah.
around Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's this holiday that's jammed between two big holidays that have tons of music and tons of fanfare. And so to be able to get something for that in the middle, I think would help it stand out because everyone always gets crabby. After Halloween, we kind of jump to Christmas before we let Thanksgiving happen. And I think it's because we're missing things like the music. If there was a soundtrack for Thanksgiving, I think we'd give Thanksgiving just a little bit more of our time.
Well, I'm gonna work on that next year. That's one of my goals. But it's funny, I wrote 4 songs. I have not recorded them yet that are based on Thanksgiving.
I love it. I can't wait to hear it.
I know. Because also we give thanks. There's some really great sentiments around Thanksgiving that we can actually can be good in a song. We can be good in a song. So I'm
I
definitely
agree.
it's so funny you say that. I've already worked on that, Jack. We don't have 10,000 things, but I'm working on that.
Love it.
But folks, if you don't even never watched the show before, you don't know who he is. It's like an official show we do every once in a while. He is a wedding DJ, he's a
Mhm.
TV host, a producer, podcaster. He has all these shows now. He has Anytime Radio, which I
Yeah.
love. He has a Lead of the Week,
Oh, thank you.
co-host Draped
Hmm.
in Gold. I'm waiting for you guys to be
Hmm.
draped in gold one day on the episode.
I
Um,
would love that. Yeah.
you guys should. I feel like it should be just all in gold. And then he's part of the Everything Tournament with our friends Evan Mack and them over there. And
Yes.
also, Jack Farmer
Hmm.
got all fancy and got him a job with the let's see, make sure I correctly. It's the Something United
Yeah.
Wrestling Network. Like, talk about
The,
that.
yeah, it's the United Wrestling Network, and they do a show every week called Prime Time Live, which you find on Fight TV. And I am their backstage interviewer and social media person, meaning that before the guys go out to the ring, before the guys have their matches, sometimes after their matches, you like to get an idea of what's going through their heads, what they're thinking about. And so I'm the guy that asks the tough questions. And James, I can't tell you how tough it is to ask a tough question to a person that's 300 pounds of solid muscle and is all fired up and angry. But that's what I do. I'm the sucker they got to go ahead and ask those questions. And I can tell you what, my first day, I almost got mauled live on camera, but it was still a fun time. And I recommend everyone check it out on Fight TV, United Wrestling Network, Primetime Live.
I watched some promo you posted. I was just like, why does Jack look smarter than these people? I'm like, he looks really smart than these people. I was like, hello.
It is interesting. There's some like you go into a day thinking like, I've been working out, I've been dieting, I'm doing pretty good today, and then you see these people that are just jacked, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is insane. But like, and just it's crazy because I'm 6'1", which isn't the biggest guy on the
I'm
planet,
short, too, I'm
but
short.
Yeah, no, I would say I'm taller than the average person. I'm bigger than the average person, but backstage at these wrestling shows, I am nowhere near the biggest guy. And there's a number of people who are much bigger than I am. And it's just it's an interesting world, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of great people there, and it's a really good show. It's fun to be a part of.
Congratulations, though. Congratulations on you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So okay, so we're gonna give you our top 7 songs we like, Christmas songs, but there are other songs we like, and Jack and I kind of made a moratorium on this song. Just said automatically we know everyone loves this song. If you don't like the song, there's something wrong with you. Obviously, you must have
Mm-hmm.
icicles in your veins or something. Yeah. Mistletoe in your brain. I don't know.
Yes.
You have to love this song, and that's All I Want for Christmas, obviously by Mariah Carey. I mean, that's right
Yeah.
by Jack. I mean, that's
Yeah. I mean, if we didn't put that one to the side, it would kind of spoil the countdown because we'd already know what number 1 is, right? Because that's the song. I feel like you can play All I Want for Christmas Is You in July and it's still a banger. I think that's a dynamite karaoke song to play as well. It's such a good song. It is the quintessential Christmas song. So I think that you can't count it.
you can't. I think you can't discount it either.
Yeah.
Or
It's
count either one.
well, let me ask you this. Maybe I should ask before we came on the show. Does the song specifically have to be about Christmas, or can it be one of the songs that is played during the season that doesn't necessarily say that it's a Christmas song? For example, Let It Snow. It does not actually say anything about Christmas, but it is a song that they play during the season. Now, personally, I allowed it. I allow
it. It's fine. I allow it.
But
I allow it.
I didn't know if we were going to become sticklers on certain rules and say, well, they never actually say Merry Christmas. So
I will allow it because it is associated with Christmas time. It's associated with Christmas time. So it's a song that everybody, you don't play it at Valentine's Day. So I mean, it's like it's completely
right.
It's played during the wintertime at Christmas.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't play it January 15th. So even though it still snows, even though it's still cold out, you wouldn't play it after the holidays. So I think it counts.
Jack Farmer, that's a very specific date. January 15th.
Yes, January 15th is a big day for me.
It's very, very specific. I'm like, okay, sure, 15th. Or February 6th. I don't know. Yeah. But yes, I agree with you. I just thought it was funny. I agree with you. But yeah, I'll allow that. Yes, it could be anything because I'm looking at my list now. I'm like, oh well, I guess that one. Okay. So yes, that's fine. But of course, also there were other songs because I said 7. There are other songs we liked. So what are a couple of we'll throughout the show we're going to talk about these. So what are a couple of songs that you kind of like, Jack Farmer? They're not your top 7.
So they're not my top 7. One that I really enjoy that didn't make it into my top 7 right off the bat is and I'm gutted to say it, but one of them is Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives. I think I say his name right. I never actually. Right. I'm not really sure. The Holly Jolly Christmas, because it to me, it just reminds me so much of Christmas. It's like in every Christmas movie. It just has that feel to it. The only reason it's not in the top 7 is there's just 7 other bangers. Yeah. So I got to get to them. Yeah. But to me, it's such a song of that season. I was disappointed to not have it in there, but it didn't make it.
One of the songs that didn't make mine was I love so much is Little Drummer Boy, Peace on Earth, Let It Be, with David Bowie and Dee Martin. I love that combination of both songs kind of brought together. I love that song. It's just, to me, it's very poignant, but it's also just these two older, younger. David Bowie at his time was very gender bending and all this stuff. And then you have this guy who's like the old guard coming together, and it works. The song works.
Yes.
It just works. That's my favorite. What's another one?
It's kind of fascinating that we don't get more of those older generation artists with younger generation artists coming together, just in general and through history. There's very few of them where it's like, this is the next generation with last generation together. We seem to get them on award shows, but in actual songs, we don't seem to get it very often.
A non-Christmas song that I always thought was very interesting, it was a really popular song, was called "Tell Him," and that was Barbara Streisand and Celine Dion. It was almost like the successor to Barbara. It was like it was like, oh, okay, that duet made sense because Barbara was of the old guard, Celine was the new guard. The song was, it worked. It's like whose voice could outdo each other. It was good. So I agree with you. It doesn't really happen that often anymore. It just kind of really happens.
Yeah. Yeah, another one that didn't make it for me, and all of these ones that didn't make it to the top seven are I'm just gutted to say, but it's a newer. Well, I say newer, but then I remember that it's 2020. It's not as new as I think it is. But NSYNC's "Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays." Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday. It's so fun. It's new. It feels new for Christmas songs. It's a newer song. But I like the upbeat ones. I like the fun Christmas songs. There's nothing. I like the beautiful, slower ones as well. But I like the fun, dancey kind of upbeat ones that you'd hear at a party, and I feel like that's one of those songs. And so I'm a big fan of that one.
Go ahead and sync. Yes, I think do it. I think one of mine that I love, and it was again another. I've seen how our age difference is coming in here. Mine are all old people. One of the ones that I really love that I hear every year, and it's so silly and simple, but you hear it all the time. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Paul McCartney. I love that song. I love that song. Just makes, like you said, it makes me smile. It's bouncy. Wow, get up. Yes. And I just love that. I love that song so much.
I always laugh at that song because you're right. It's such a part of the holidays, but I always imagine him writing that song. And I feel like he wrote it very quickly. Like, simply having a wonderful Christmas time. And like, okay, what's the next line? I don't know. Just repeat that.
Right,
just keep saying that.
Right. The song is not complex at all. Trust me, it's not.
No. It's no, I mean, a lot of these songs aren't. I mean, Jingle Bells isn't the most complex song in the world, but it's funny because it is such a big song and it's so good and it's by such an amazing artist that I always just laugh to myself because it's simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
That's what it is. It literally is what it says.
Yes.
It is what it says.
So I always jokingly think to myself, like, that was the one he was like, he wanted to get home, so he wrote it quickly, and it turned out to be just a banger.
And he's like, I'm making lots of money off of this. Yes.
He couldn't have known he was going to make as much money off that one as he did, though. I think I
read that somewhere. He didn't. He was surprised that for 2 months he makes more money than he does the rest of the year.
It's crazy, but good for him, man. I'm gonna have to make. Like I said, I'm gonna try making a Christmas song one of these days.
Sure.
It's gonna be a very monotone, boring one, but it'll be fun.
Actually, talk to me. I can help you out with that.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I want to ask you before we even get into any of the top 7 is, have you ever DJ'd a wedding during the holidays?
I have. I've DJ'd a bunch of them, and it's weird. It's always it's kind of a line gets drawn where some people say, we don't want this about the holidays. It's about our wedding. We don't want it to be a holiday themed wedding. And others who are like, yeah, it's the holidays. Let's be all about it. I'm a believer in, I think if it's the holidays, let people experience the holidays. They're in that mood. They're feeling it. I feel like it's weird to pretend that something isn't happening when it's festive and fun. If you have your wedding during the Super Bowl, make it about football. If you have your wedding on Halloween, make it a Halloween wedding. Like, be a part of it, because it's on everyone's mind, and it's not like it's a sad thing, So some people they don't want to be about it. They don't want it to be part of the wedding. But I think it's fun when you make it part of the wedding and make it part of what's going on in the world. And like I said, I'm a big believer in, if people want to have a good time, if people are thinking about something fun, embrace it. Like, just have fun with it. And that's my opinion. And I think that usually works out pretty well, because the ones that don't want wedding stuff or holiday stuff played at their weddings during the holidays, I always get someone who comes up and requests it anyways. So I say roll with it.
Let it happen.
Let it happen.
I'm asking more questions about that in a second, but I want to hear your number 7 pick for one of our top favorite Christmas songs.
The number 7. So this one is a song that when I hear it, I feel like it's the start of the holidays. To me, it just feels like if my life was a movie and it took place during the holidays, this would be the song that's played during the opening credits. And
Ooh.
that is Andy Williams. It's the most wonderful time of the year. To me, it just feels like it's ushering in the holiday season. It just has this smooth feeling that feels like the festivities are about to get started. It just has that vibe to me. And like I said, to me, if my life was a movie, that would be the opening credits holiday portion of the movie.
Um,
If my whole life was set up in one holiday season movie.
I actually kind of agree with you on that one, Jack, too. So yes, I sing that song all the time when it comes to Christmas. And my family and friends know that's a song I sing all the time.
Yeah. He's Andy Williams. He's one of those guys. I think that there's so many crooners that are out there that are famous and great. Andy Williams gets forgotten quite a bit behind the Frank Sinatras and the Dean Martins and all the other things. And Andy Williams is actually a lot more. He's got a wider range because he's even got like Hawaiian vibe music and stuff like that. So he very underrated, I'd say, or at least underappreciated at the very
I will
least.
agree with you because on the chart side of things, I grew up reading Billboard magazine and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
and behind books on that. He actually was a huge chart-topping success. I mean, he had a lot of hits. I mean, he had a lot of hits and
Mm-hmm.
influenced a lot of people and had a show and all these things. So he was somebody that, yeah, he doesn't get mentioned as much. I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like, you get him, Paul Anka, Neil Sedaka, all these people that they were all had hits. They all wrote
Mm-hmm.
things. They had hits. But it was the other ones that were more flashy, I think is what it is. That's why I'm not saying take away from them at all. They just got bigger,
Right.
flashier. They were bigger, so they got more attention, I think. Frank
Yeah.
Sinatra obviously was, like you, blue eyes.
Oh, yes. Well, Frank Sinatra, he kind of was the I don't know the phrase to say it, kind of the black hole of media in the sense that he just sucked everything into him, like whether it be movies or music or songs. And so because he was so big, if you were one of his buddies, you became big. And then beyond that, and that's not to take anything away from his buddies. I'm
No,
just
you're not
saying
at
that's
all right.
just the way it was.
Yeah.
If you weren't one of them, well, they were taking everything, so you had to find your own lane. And again, it doesn't take away from either how good people like Andy Williams
Right, no,
were or their successes, but I think just looking back, even, and we do that with other generations as well. If I say boy bands, we say NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, but there's poor 98 Degrees out there that wishing that they got some love and respect, or even New Kids on the Block or any of those guys. They're all like, what about us? We were doing things too. Color Me Bad. They're all wondering when they're.
I know, and my buddies, all for one, or New
All
Edition.
for, yes.
All those, because I mean, I love all of them. It's like those are all, and I'm actually friends with Nick and Vanessa Lachey, so I know them. Shout out to them.
Oh,
I mean,
very cool. Shout out Nick
but
Lachey.
come on, 98 Degree. I mean, there was some, they had hits. No,
Yeah. I have a buddy that dresses up as Nick Lachey for Halloween every single year. I don't know why, but that's his thing.
Oh my God. I want to give a shout out to my friend Delius Kennedy from All for One. He's a great guy. So those, another one. They had hits.
All for One they were massive. I remember they were huge.
I swear was huge. I swear.
I swear.
Exactly. You know it. Exactly. I mean, they were huge. And
now,
I mean,
for at least like a good year, at least that was the song you put on, like when you're with someone and you're like, let me just put my arm around him right now.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Got it. Exactly.
That was the song. That was
exactly. So you're right. There are other groups that were good too. They just don't get the credit.
Yes, absolutely. But I think that's kind of what happened to Andy Williams. He was the all for one of the crooners, I think.
So my pick for number 7, there's many versions of this song, and I had first heard a version of the song from an album that was a staple in my home. I don't know if it was in yours for your parents or grandparents. It was the Mannheim Steamroller album.
Mm-hmm.
That Christmas album was huge. I mean, it was on the charts for like 10 years, 20 years.
Yes.
But the version that I like of this song is by a group called Straight No Chaser. They are a gay.
Interesting.
They're actually a gay vocal group, and that's a funny name. And their version of Carol the Bells.
Yes.
And okay, so I have a deep voice, and so there are some voices in that choir that are deep. That when they come in, it's this very layered song. I just get goosebumps every time I hear it, and so I
Yeah.
love their version of Carol the Bells.
Interesting. You talked about our different generations. I didn't think you were going to go straight no chaser. That's an interesting that you threw me for a loop there.
I'm James Lott Jr. Never. You think you figured me out? You can't figure me out.
There's a, as you know, I do wrestling shows. There's a famous wrestling line is, as soon as you think you have all the answers, I change the questions. And that's James Lott Jr. there. As soon as I think I got you figured out, you change everything on me.
I did. I like that. I like that. I like that. I do.
But yeah, that's another great one too. Carol of the Bells. That's another one. I'll be honest. That's one that I forget about, and then when someone brings it up, I'm like, yeah, that is a great Christmas song.
And you hear it, you know it when you hear it too. It's a very recognizable melody.
Yes, absolutely.
Ding, 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 ding. It builds, it goes. It's my favorite song.
I love it. Yeah.
So,
it reminds me of one of the ones, I don't know about you, but one of the ones that didn't quite make the list from the, it also reminds me of the Christmas Sarajevo Trans-Siberian Orchestra, just because
another staple,
powerful one. It didn't make it for me on my top 7 just because you can't sing along with it. Well, you can, but you're not really singing along. You're just like,
right.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, exactly. I know it. I know it.
No.
Oh, there's because Trans-Siberian Orchestra had that rock element.
Yes,
that's what was so great in the instrumentation. It was an instrumental piece and orchestra, but it also had the rocks, like guitars and things in it. Sometimes some of their songs. That's why I love.
Yeah. Yeah, growing up in the Pacific Northwest, I grew up loving like alternative rock and things like that. And so I love that. It was a song. It was a Christmas song that used to just jam. And so I was like, yeah, it's like it's heavy in like the guitars and the drums and things like that. And so I loved it, but that's what cost it a top 7 spot for me, is I can't sing along with it.
Well, it's funny. You grew up in a place where, for me, I came of age with, Nirvana and Mudhoney and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. That whole Pacific Northwest sound, obviously, they were my age. So when they came out, I was like, yes, we hate everybody with angst.
Mudhoney, by the way, the all for one of grunge bands.
Yeah, I know, another one. Right? They had to. It's okay. So it's so funny because I do. Well, we'll get for another show. And so there's a lot to talk about the whole grunge scene. We'll do an episode on grunge because I have a whole. I was there in the beginning, following everything.
Yeah. I have a whole thought on grunge music, and it possibly being one of the last great genres of runs of rock music. It feels like there's been good bands since then, but I feel like grunge was the last like as a genre explosion of rock before things like hip hop and pop and EDM
I will say one thing that seriously, Jack, we'll be on here for 10 years. I was going to say grunge was part throwback to conscious rock and consciousness in music, but it also was new enough that it was almost like rap, because rap was the last kind of new genre. Also, they're taking their pain and making it into music,
right?
And very
exactly.
Sounds. But that's a whole. We'll have to talk about that. I wrote down. We'll do a grunge episode of the show because I have a lot of. You'll be interested to know my knowledge of grunge. I have a large knowledge of grunge. So
I had a large collection of plaid flannels. So
I believe it. With you, I believe it. With a kid, I can believe it. I totally believe it. Oh my God.
Yes.
What is your number?
There was actually time I had long hair too. Believe it or not.
You had long hair.
I had hair down to my shoulders at one point. Yeah. Now, my hair's getting kind of long now because of quarantine. I've been letting it grow out. I push it all back behind here. So, but
I want to see you with long hair. I want to see that.
So it's but yeah, it went down to about my shoulders was how far it got before I ended up cutting it.
Wow, I can't even picture it.
Yeah, it was cool. It was my as you know, when you're younger, longer hair, it has a little bit more life than it would have had if I had it today, I think.
Right. I know. I had long hair on my shoulders too, trust me, I know. So we ain't doing it today.
No. It would look a little sad if I grew it out that long today. I'd be like, Jack, maybe cut your hair.
Yeah. No. Okay. Number 6. What's your number 6?
Number 6 is one that it grew on me. It's not a new song at all, but it grew on me over the past maybe 5 years for one reason or another. I don't know. It's not the most happy song, though. It's kind of a sad song. It's a sad Christmas song. James, it's Last Christmas by Wham. It's a song that when it comes on, I can't help but sing along now as it comes on. It's one of my favorite Christmas songs. My girlfriend now knows how to play it on the ukulele, which even though ukuleles sound really fun, it's like a fun juxtaposition of a light sounding instrument playing a depressing song. But I don't know if it's a depressing song. It's just it's a breakup song.
No, the breakup song is depressing, but the
yeah.
song is so good and it's played during Christmas.
Yes, and so it's one that as it comes on, it's one of those songs that I'm unconsciously sing along to. Like I'll be driving, just it comes on. It's like Last Christmas, and it's suddenly I build up into like let that, and I'm like singing at the top of my lungs. But like it's like I'm not trying to. It's not like a Journey, Don't Stop Believing, where you're like, okay, well I got to sing along. It's like it just slowly starts. I feel like Ariel from The Little Mermaid when like her voice comes back and she's like, it's like slowly builds into me.
The thing is, crap, Ariel from Little Mermaid. Oh my god, it's so funny. I always that sound all the time. Like, I love it. I love it. That is hilarious.
So, that's a good one for me. I love it.
So I saw Wham in 1984, 85 for Wham America at the Hollywood Park, which is now not anything at the moment. Now it's SoFi Stadium.
Right.
I saw Shaka Khan open for them, and she had her big Shaka Khan. That song was big.
Yeah.
It was a great show. And then I saw George Michael 25 years later for his 25th anniversary.
Very cool.
San Jose at the SAP Stadium. And he came out and he sang that actually. It's one of the songs he sang. Because it was during the holidays. But it was funny to see him 25 years apart. It was very interesting because he was young and bouncy and back then. Then he was like, I'm taking a break. I'll be back in 20 minutes. And he literally went off the stage. They put a clock up and a countdown. I understand, George. I'm old too. I get it. So he went off for 20 minutes and he came back out and sang.
What a baller move. She's like, hold on hey, thousands of people. Wait a second, I got to do something.
Yeah, we did. We all went out. I went out, got some to drink. We're back. I mean, like he literally his voice was velvety smooth even then too. But he sang Last Christmas. I got to before he died. I got to see that. So that was very nice.
Was he a better performer before or like younger? Like, was the performance better with him being young and bouncy, or was it better with him being older and kind of understanding being a performer and the voice and everything like that later on in life?
It was just funny. You should be a host. It's a very good question. You should interview people. It's crazy. You're good. No, it's a very good question. I feel like the performance in terms of seeing stuff happen, it was obviously back then. Yeah, it was the 80s. Neon shirts and Wake Up Before You Go Go and all that, and that was fun. But his voice sounded richer this time around. Some of the songs that he did different versions of some of his earlier songs. He added dimension and depth to the songs that when he's saying Everything She Wants or A Different Corner or Freedom or Jesus to a Child, he sounded like all those years in his voice. So in some ways, the performance, that's a really great question. I think it was a little bit of both. They're just like they're just both good. They both were good. I mean, but you could tell that he had more command of his voice. Like you were just kind of debating, and that he could play with it more. He's such a beautiful voice. I mean, his voice was so beautiful. It was the same with Boy George and Culture Club. It's like they have these. They're British, they're white. They sound black now, but they sound great. They have these velvety, smooth, soulful voices that both have had such interesting lives since their first go around. So back then, yes, I was young too. We're all like running around and jumping and skating. Being older was kind of nice. I saw another performer, Annie Lennox from Eurythmics. I saw her solo. It was her and a piano. It's a special tour she was doing, And some of those songs, I cried in the audience because it was like she knew how to command her voice better. She was older. She lived some life. There's something to be said about that. So I think that's my theme, kind of what you just think off what you said. I think both performances were good.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something. I mean, that's what separates the goods from the greats, right? The ones where you can really feel what they're singing as opposed to just, I would say that's one of the things about where American Idol and like The Voice, I think, is hard to find is the people who win all those. And this is no shade to the people who win those. I mean, they're amazing performers and singers and things. But I think sometimes like their talent is good, but sometimes it's not necessarily the feeling. You're not getting the feeling from them. And that's why a lot of times they don't remain on top years later. They're kind of like, they're big during their run right after they win, and then they kind of disappear because we're not feeling it, even though they technically have the voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the only ones who really have stood the test of time in the public eye are Kelly Clarkson, clearly, and Jennifer Hudson. I mean, those are two that kind of they continue to enthrall the audience to keep them. And you're right. There's many of them who won. They all have great voices. I mean, they're all good. And Daughtry and Taylor and all. They're all good. They just didn't. They don't come. Clay Aiken. All they all were great, but they just didn't.
Yeah, there wasn't that. I guess that soul to it. Not to confuse it with like soul music, but there's
something else. My number 6. I grew up. She had the voice of an angel. And I'm so sad she had such mental issues where she had anorexia and she couldn't continue. A staple album in my house, the Carpenters, "Merry Christmas, Darling."
Mm-hmm.
The Carpenters were like, I mean, I don't know about your house. The Carpenters were in the 70s and 80s. They were just played in my house all the time. And "Merry Christmas, Darling, Happy New Year too." When I hear that, and her voice was like an angel. It really was like an angel. I mean, love it.
Yeah. Honestly, that album, I didn't grow up with it, but my girlfriend did. And so she listens to, because of her, now we listen to it every year. And it's an amazing album. It's so good. It's one I didn't, like I said, I didn't get to listen to it growing up much. My parents like the Carpenters too. I don't know why I didn't hear it as much.
They were huge. They were huge.
Yeah. But it wasn't one I heard much growing up. But yeah. Now I listen to it every year. It's like an appointment listening. I love it. I will say it creates a little bit of conflict because my girlfriend, she likes to just put it on and listen to it. But I get the ADD of music. I'm like, no, let's throw 10,000 Christmas songs onto a playlist and hit random and see what happens.
And she's like, the experience of listening to the album in its entirety. And you're right. I'm a DJ. Keep me going.
Yeah, which to her credit, I think is a lost amazing thing is listening to albums start to finish. That's the one bummer about having every song available to you. It reminds me of a joke I heard that is I like every song on my iPod unless I'm listening to it, then I only like every 5th song on my iPod.
I like that. Well, the last album I was playing recently of the whole thing through was Purple Rain by Prince, The Revolution. I played it all the way through twice recently. I'm like, this album's really good. I mean, we know it's good, obviously. Everybody knows it's good. But I mean, to listen to the entirety, which I hadn't done in like 30 years, I was like, oh, all the songs work. They all remind you of the movie. They all like so that's the last album I listened to. Cool.
Yeah, that's an all-timer, I think, as far as albums go.
Right, all right. But now you pick songs from the album to listen to. You may listen to that song or that song. To listen to a whole album in its entirety, I hadn't done that in 30 years.
Yeah, and it's because you start to realize too, certain songs that maybe on your iPod, the reason you skip it is because you didn't hear it the way it was meant to be heard, which was after a particular song. Because when they put those things together, they're not just randomly throwing songs on a playlist and burning it to a CD or a tape or a album or record. It's, you have your certain moments where it's higher energy and then lower energy, and you're kind of going through the journey. And that's why that, the songs that we would listen to straight through on an album, you're like, I love it. And then when you put it on your iPod, you're like, it doesn't really fit. I don't know why I don't like it. It's because it's not being played in the right way. But I'm sounding like an old man, I guess.
No, you are. No. But it's true because obviously I'm an artist, so I release albums, and I had to put together 2 albums that are coming out. I have a Christmas themed album coming out for a Christmas series that I produced called Mistletoe Road. So that album's coming out December 6th. Our friend Flobito is on several of the songs. He stars in the show.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so I wrote all the songs, and the songs are done by the cast. and
I
Flo's
love it.
one of the leads, and he does 3 or 4 songs on it. So, but the whole point I was going to say is that it's very much whenever I have a new album coming out, it's the album track listing because there really is like this. I get it. That's the hardest thing to do. Recording songs is one thing, but to actually put together in one complete package, it's like one album took me months to figure it out because you really want it to be a journey of some. Like, what am I trying to tell? What story am I trying to tell? So now I get all these albums. I get what that's about now. It's really hard. You're like, well, that song is right after that. Do you want 3 fast songs and a slow song? Like, there's just all this stuff that can, so many different combinations of stuff. But now I get it. Now I totally get it. So every time an album coming out, I'm like, oh god, I got not put to get the track listing together. Oh,
Yeah. It's so funny. I've definitely had that moment where as you get older, one of the amazing things that happens in life is you start to find the things that your parents said or did that now make so much sense. And my dad, I remember one time telling me saying, it's such a shame. He's like, when I grew up, I would buy a record and I would, you'd listen to it. And while you listen to it, you would read the back of the case and you would read the front and you'd pull it all out and all this other stuff. And, as a kid, I was like, that sounds boring. But then I was talking to a buddy of Evan Mack and Flobo and Heidi on the Everything tournament. We're talking about video games, and we're talking about as kids, as video games, you'd buy the package, and we're talking about how different games you'd have like the map, for the game, and you'd open it up and you'd look at that, and you'd read the little book on how to play it, and how kids nowadays they just download it all off the internet or the game off the internet, and then they might Google something if they need help with something. And we're like, yeah, they miss that opportunity to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I sound like my dad. This is one of those moments. I'm having the moment. I get what he was saying.
I know.
Now.
It's so, oh my god, I do it all the time now, Jack. I do it all the time to arrest me. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm that person now. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
I'm thinking I'm just going to go find some 95-year-old guy and start doing everything the way he does it, because he clearly has it figured out. The older I get, the more I realize the older person has it figured out. I'm the young person that says the older person's crazy is the one that doesn't get it. The old person gets it. I'm going to start doing things that way. I'm going to start going to bed at 8 p.m. I'm going to start having dinner at 4. I'm going to start dressing like an old man. They get it. They know something I don't know yet, but I'm not waiting. I'm just going to take advantage of it now.
It's funny you say, because since I am one of the older ones of all my friends, they're like, James, you were right about that. I'm like, I lived a long time. I figured some shit out. So I know what's going on. I know what's going on. So yes, but like you, I'm going, it's like my mother. It's like my father. It's like my uncles. Oh my God, it's crazy. Why is this happening to me? I'm saying what you're saying now. That's my life. Okay, so number 5. My number 5. I'll go first. My number 5. Am I counting right? Yeah, I got it. This is another staple in my house, and it's funny because she's Jewish. So I always kept saying, how could you have a Christmas album? But it's a huge...
Because she's smart. That's why.
Right, exactly, right. Barbara Streisand and Jingle Bells. Her version of Jingle Bells. Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, Jing Jing. It's a fast version that you've never heard before. Her voice, of course, is just amazing, of course. But that Christmas album is something iconic cover with the light kind of behind her. She's kind of, it's number 5. And I love Barbara Streisand, so.
As soon as you said she was Jewish, I knew you were talking about Barbara Streisand. I knew where it was.
I think we all grew up with it. Also, we all know she did a Christmas album. Like, everybody knows that.
Yeah, and that's a great rendition of that song too. That's one of those it's tough because you got to find which version of certain songs sometimes that you want. And I have one later on down the list that might get controversial. I picked a version that maybe it's not really going to be controversial. I think it's one of those songs that's split 50-50. But I love that song too. I love Barbara Streisand. I think that's another great one. That's a good one.
Thank you. What's number 5?
Mine is it's a new one, and this one I think is legitimately new, as in the past few years. But I like I said, I like fun, I like upbeat stuff. This one is Santa Tell Me by Ariana Grande. I think it's one of the few new ones that is finding its way into the annual Christmas song playlist. It's just upbeat. It's kind of fun. It's maybe because I haven't heard it for as many years, it still feels fresh and new to me. And I feel like this is one that's going to stick, and we're going to be hearing it for years and years. I don't know if you know that one.
I don't. I know. She has a great voice. She has an amazing voice. I know that much, but I don't know that one.
It sounds like an Ariana Grande song, but it sounds like a Christmas song, and it's Santa, tell me. I'm gonna ruin it if I sing it for you. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. I'll stop right there. But I think it's fun. It's got that fun kind of light kind of a lot of Christmas songs. They have that mystery of like you're anticipating something in the song, which I think because so much about Christmas is you wake up on Christmas morning, open up a present. What's the present going to be, et cetera. And so a lot of these songs that I'm realizing as I'm talking, I'm realizing this as I'm talking right now, a lot of them have these kind of like, there's a, like something's coming, an anticipation in it. And I think her song, Santa Tell Me, she's asking for Santa to tell her something. It's got that anticipation that I think a good Christmas song has. And that's why I like it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. What's your number 4?
Number 4, we're going with Christmas Wrapping by the Waitresses. It's such
Yes,
a
yes, yes. That would have been my top 10. It's like my number 11. That's my number 11. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And it's very wave. That's my time period. Oh my God, Jack, it's my time period.
Yeah. I love it. It's just because that that song to me, Christmas Wrapping, is the most real Christmas song. That when I say certain things feel like Christmas Wrapping feels like real Christmas, running around trying to get your, buy the presents, get everything ready. There's like the stresses to it, but it's still, you're happy about it, but there's stresses, things don't go right, but it's okay. Like that to me is what real Christmas feels like. And so that's why I love it.
I am impressed. You impressed me, Jack Farmer. Okay, so here's a little fun fact. So when I did my Christmas show last year, I mentioned the Waitresses, and I actually gave a fun fact that a couple of my friends didn't know this. So the Waitresses only put out 2 albums. One, a regular album called Wasn't Tomorrow Wonderful, and the Christmas thing. And they're known for 3 hits, literally 3 hits. Of course, I know what girls like. I know what guys want. So that was their one big, and then Christmas Wrapping, like literally that was like, and they did Square Pegs theme to the show Square Pegs with Jessica Parker. So they had 3 huge hits, and one of them was a Christmas song that gets played every year. Lisa, of course, died of cancer at, I think at age 50 years ago. I'm sorry about her, but I just was like, this, I love, it's like number 11. It's like literally bubbling under my top, 10 songs. I love that song so much. But it reminds me of my time period because I was a new waver back in the 80s. I mean, that's kind of, I had the hair and I did all that. So for me and my buttons and stuff. So I'm so impressed you brought that up. I love that song.
Yeah, like I said, it's really one of my favorites. And as far as the rankings go, again, I feel like if I'd put this list together on a different day, things could be in a different order. Because I love Christmas songs.
Me too. That's why I didn't call you. I knew it.
People, I don't know. People will be like, oh man, they're already playing Christmas music. I'm like, yeah, do it. Let's just do it. Let's get into it.
Good. My number 4. She holds this note that's just, I mean, it's just amazing. It's Celine Dion's version of "Oh Holy Night." It came out in the 90s, when it was out in the 90s or 2000s, one of the 2000s. I just love that version, and that's all I really say about it. She had the voice, great song. It's a slow, emotional song. It's like it builds and builds to this point where she holds these notes, and I just love it.
There's very few times I think where anyone can listen to a song and say this person's voice is outstanding. And that's one of those songs. I mean, obviously we can say, yeah, of course she has a good voice. Of course, certain people have good voices, but like, there's also a lot of people with good voices that you hear and you don't actively say to yourself, wow, they have an amazing voice. That is a song that you go, geez, that is a great voice. That is, I mean, great is underselling it, but yeah, her voice is incredible.
I agree. My number 3 song, there's a famous version by Eartha Kitt, of course, but I like my girl because again, it was the 80s.
Yeah.
And she was queen of the 80s, and I was my girl. But Madonna's version of Santa Baby, I just think because the song is very kittenish, coquettish. It's very tongue-in-cheek.
Yes.
And Eartha Kitt, of course, a legend, sexy legend back in the day, of course. But Madonna, it was in the height of her young sexiness, her blondness, the mole, her voice was kitten-esque. I mean, it was just like, it was Cupid doll-ish. Her version, I love it's so Madonna. Like for Madonna to do a Christmas song, that just totally made sense. Love it.
Yeah, I love that song. I love that version. I love Eartha Kitt's
Oh
version
yeah.
as
Oh yeah.
well.
Oh yeah.
I love them both, and I love it because it's one of the only ones that kind of sexualizes Santa Claus, which is
Yes.
kind of funny because so many people are, it seems so obvious, but the fact that there's not really that many that are like, yeah, come down my chimney,
Okay, I know. It's like it's hilarious. I mean,
right.
uh,
So it's fun. I love it. I love that version. I like that you went with the Madonna as well, as opposed to
yeah, I like
the
Madonna.
standard.
It's
Yeah.
because it gets played a lot too. It gets played all the time too. They're interchangeable. They get played. Both get played a lot. But that Madonna's version may be a little underrated. I think hers was for her that time period and who she was at that time. It fit perfectly for her to do that kind of. She didn't do like "Here Comes Santa
Yeah.
Claus" and shit. She did something like
Right. No,
makes
that was the right song for Madonna to do, but that was the one because I think a lot of people, because Madonna has been around for so long, I think a lot of people misremember Madonna in a lot of ways
yes.
because they remember her from the later years and they forget just who she was, in the '80s and early '90s, and she was a totally she's an icon. As big as Britney Spears was, she was never a Madonna. Like Madonna is one of the Mount Rushmore uh singers, female
Yes.
singers. Like she's
Yeah.
yeah. Um
It's funny. Madonna's funny because obviously I was there when it all
yeah,
happened. I actually remember how big she and of course I was there for Britney when she became big too. And like you mentioned as an example,
yeah.
and Beyonce on them. Madonna was, I mean, it was such a different time period. We only had three
Mhm.
channels.
Yeah.
Like it was like everybody had to be glued to MTV was new when they showed videos back then.
Yeah.
I miss when MTV showed videos.
Yeah.
And Madonna, every video she came out with, she looked different than the last video. That was very rare. No one had done that.
Mhm.
She was media savvy. She totally worked the media. And the media was vicious towards her. People don't understand. People hated her because she was a
Mhm.
female who celebrated her femaleness. And she
Yes.
celebrated men of color. She celebrated gay men. She celebrated
Mhm.
dance music. She celebrated being full and being herself and being sad. She was, she was so young. She's only in her 20s. And she was just like, so I mean, all these little girls could, and the fact that she survived all that and is doing okay.
Yes.
A lot of people would fall apart. Madonna, big three, of course, Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince, they're all over there. But Madonna's the one that's lasting. I mean, she's the one who lasted.
Yeah.
And you're right, she's one of the Mount Rushmores. And I always think when that song came out, she also Bruce Springsteen came out with a song, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which I love that version too. It's in my top 20.
Mhm.
And to me, that fits him. It's like
Yeah.
that song fits him at that time. Santa Baby fit her. It's like it was just like another icon of the 80s and 70s, 80s, and 90s. But I just thought that they both picked songs that really fit their personas, which is not an
Yes.
easy thing to do either when it comes to a Christmas. So I just go with sorry.
No, you're right. I don't know if it was smart or lucky or what, but yeah, they nailed exactly the versions and songs that they should have sang. Um, my number three isn't one that was redone, at least as far as I know, but it's one that it's in every Christmas movie, it seems, and it just feels like a Christmas party song. And it's Rocking Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. I know it's not the most original pick. I know it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that song. I love that song.
yeah, it's not the most original pick, I know, but again, it's one of those ones. If you've ever been to a holiday party, that song's getting played. That song is still fun. Everyone knows all the words, and to me, I think of like Home Alone and him, making all the cardboard cutouts dance and things like that to scare off the robbers, and it's just I don't know, it embodies Christmas to me, so I love it.
I think of being in the Midwest during I spent many Christmases and winters in the Midwest, being at a diner during that time period, and that song comes on the jukebox.
Hmm.
It's very like, oh, I love that song. It's little Brenda Lee. It's like she
Yeah,
got a lot of hits too. It's another one that gets forgotten. She had a lot of hits too. She was young. But
yeah.
that one just reminds me of, I don't know, it just reminds me of the Midway, it reminds me of winter, it reminds me of eating chili or I don't know, dressing. I don't know. It reminds me of that time. I like that song a lot.
Yeah, it's got this for me anyways, it's definitely got this like crossover of feeling like a classic Christmas song and feeling like a bit of a party song as well. I think for me there was so much of it that was like it feels like it fits right in there with a "Oh Holy Night," even though it's a party song,
I
and so
agree.
that's what I like about it.
I agree. Some of my one of my I want to give two honorable mentions. We're about to get to our top two, but I want to give two honorable mentions. We had other songs. I want to mention. I grew up with the Dolly Parton Kenny Rogers Christmas album, so I just want to mention that.
Hmm.
I just grew up with that. Two great voices. May Kenny rest in peace. I love that album. And also
Yeah.
something newer. Well, not newer. It's I guess the early 2000s. The Killers. The Killers always
Oh yeah.
they always released a Christmas song, a new Christmas for like 5 years in a row. It's a new Christmas song. I love their Christmas songs. I thought they were pop rockish, dancey,
Yeah.
and I think again they get forgotten. The Killers are a great band, and I love the Killers.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
beyond Mr. Brightside, that was their big hit, of course, but they had other stuff too.
Yeah.
I like their Christmas music. They kept consistently putting out these Christmas singles that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, the Killers are a band that I heard. I don't know how accurate this is, but someone told me the story, and I like the story. Sounds interesting, so
Sure, so tell it. So tell it.
I
Sure.
repeat it and I act like it's true. But I heard this. The Strokes came out, and they to me felt like they were the new version of cool and rock and roll. And then the Killers came out, and from what I understand, the reason the Strokes didn't really keep on making great music is after that they tried to emulate the Killers, and they weren't able to, and then they kind of lost their way because they were so impressed by the Killers that they wanted to adjust what they were doing, and it kind of took them off track. So I always thought that was an interesting kind of story because the Strokes seemed like, I always say there was like rock went through a weird phase with like Limp Bizkit and things, and then the Strokes came out like, no, this is what cool rockers look like and how cool rockers act, and that kind of, I feel like the Strokes kind of killed off a lot of that kind of rock and roll, and then the Strokes saw the Killers and were like, oh no, that's what we want to do, and it threw them off. But
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so folks, and this is a Christmas, so I'll just briefly. We have to have an episode on this too.
yeah.
There was a brief couple of years where bands like Interpol, The
Hmm.
Strokes, The White Stripes, Franz Ferdinand. I mean, all these groups, they all came out with the Hives.
Hmm.
I was in love with all of them. Oh my God, I was a jet. All of them. They all came out with
Yes.
kind of music that was guitar driven, drums driven, dancey pop rock music. And they all had their time in the sun. And the Killers came out, and you're right. The Strokes have some really great. They have a song called 1251 that I love.
Yeah.
And everything, but there's a bunch of songs they have that I love very much. But they all came out at the same time, and varying degrees. Certain ones lasted and some didn't. Some had a couple of albums that did okay. Some stayed, indie darlings like Interpol never really got big. They had a couple of, I guess, kind of hits,
Yeah.
but they kind of stayed more underground. But the Strokes were really, but the Killers became huge. They had a couple of
Yes.
huge hits that really catapulted above the fray. Same with White Stripes too, because Jack White obviously was a whole other
Right.
thing. That's another show. But I just want to say, I don't want to get into that too deep. We have to do a show on that too. But that possibly could be true. I just know
Yeah.
that the Strokes, there was the Strokes, the Hives, the White Stripes were all considered. They came out the same year, and they're all considered like the new birth of this kind
Yeah.
of chic rock thing that happened. And then then they all kind of imploded.
Yeah. They all had that vibe of like, you could imagine the guitar players just rocking out on stage and like, almost like you could imagine they're too professional, they probably wouldn't do this, but you could almost imagine almost like jazz just sort of riffing and like
Yeah.
making a mess of the stage and sort of a throwback to that kind of rock and roll style.
It was very throwback, very throwback.
Yeah. But I loved it. Yeah, I love Jet too. And man, you're taking me down memory lane with
I
some
know.
of these.
That's it, Jack. We got to do a show on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to show on that. About that.
But if we're doing some honorable mentions, if I could throw in, I want to throw in Christmas in Hollis by Run DMC.
Yes.
I love that one. It plays at the beginning of Die Hard, and everyone always argues, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? And I say yes, because we talk about it every Christmas. How could it not be a Christmas?
I say too.
Plus I'm an inclusive guy. Just add it in. Who cares? It doesn't hurt anybody.
Yes.
And I like this is going to be a little controversial. I know it's become controversial over the years, but I like Baby It's Cold Outside. I like the Michael Bublé.
That's my number two song. So let's talk.
Is it? Okay.
Let's talk about it. I mean,
yeah. I like it. I know I get where people are coming from, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's flirty. I think it's fun. I think it's I think it's a fun, flirty song. I like it. And I think it's nothing but good. And it's just a song that makes me feel good. So I think it's good.
I
Good,
agree.
good, good. I keep saying good.
I do see you like getting a little nervous over there, Jack. No,
No.
yeah, no, I know, I agree. I mean, it's. I look at the song and listen to the lyrics, and the lyrics she was over there in the first place. Hello,
Yeah.
number one. So I think there was consent. She wanted to be
Yeah.
there, and she really probably wanted. It's like she wanted to stay, but it was a different time period. Like she was
Mhm.
fighting against the culture of the time. That's why I felt like that was going on. And he was trying to convince her. I don't think he was trying to rape her or anything. I'm just gonna say it out loud. I don't think he was trying to rape her.
No.
I just think it was it
No.
was this flirty thing. Like they were going back and forth. You know, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit more. Maybe I shouldn't. If it's cold outside, maybe get a coat. I mean, I felt like it was a playful banter that was equal between the two. That's kind of how I look at it. Folks in the comments, say what you want. I don't care. Say what you want. I want to hear what you say. I
Yeah.
just think the song, it's a fun song, and I think that it is a Christmas type song. I don't know. I know it's played during Christmas, and it's a tradition. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I mean, again, I think it's definitely fair for people to look back and go, "Is this appropriate?"
Right.
But when you listen to it, yeah, it sounds. You said it perfectly. It's playful banter and it's fun. And again, for me, I always think it's that perfect kind of end of the night, end of the party kind of song, like because everyone is having those kind of conversations at the end of the party, like
Yeah,
are
they
we
are.
gonna
They are.
keep are we gonna keep partying? Or are we gonna go, gonna go home? What's happening? I think there's very few songs that really kind of approach that end of the night kind of part of the night. And I think they do it in such a fun, playful way. And I love it. I think that's a great spot for it.
I agree. I said
Uh,
so. That's one of the two songs. So funny.
yeah.
I said I'm gonna put it on here. I don't care. I like the song. It reminds me of Christmas time. It just really does. When it comes on, very many versions. Of course, the Elvis Fitzgerald version I like. Of course, the rest of the version I like the most. But there are
Yeah.
many versions of it I've heard that I like, and I don't know. I don't think
Ella Fitzgerald, yeah, that one's a good one.
that's a good.
They're all good.
They're all
I enjoy them. Let me ask you this: do you think how different would that song be perceived if someone was to just switch the roles and make it a female singing the part of "I want you to stay" and the guy saying "I gotta go"?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, nowadays they could receive that they could slut shame her. So they call her a slut. And say
Yeah,
she's trying to get a man, and she should be trying to do. I mean, it could be either or no controversy at all because the female. I mean, it could be either one. I mean, because right now the controversy came up because I mean, I get the whole Me Too movement, I get all that stuff, so I get it. Women want to get more representation and not the old guard. But that's what was brought up during that time period, kind of right
hmm
before that. So I feel like if a woman was in the lead of that, so to speak, it'd probably be a very different conversation. I think it would be just naturally would be.
Well, I think it's a perfect time for someone to jump on that and try to capitalize on making a few extra
Yes, a female.
bucks.
Yes, that's right.
That's
I would say this, or a same-sex version,
you could do that too. Absolutely.
and see how that
Yeah.
changes the dynamic.
You would just have to make sure the voices were different enough so it didn't
Yeah,
sound like the same person, like just talking to themselves.
but yeah, there's somehow a deeper voice with a higher voice one,
Yeah.
or a country twangy voice with us. I mean,
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
it could
So
be
yeah.
done. It could
Yeah,
be
yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. James, this is the chance to make some bucks. That's what that's what Christmas is all about, is making a few extra
money,
dollars.
capitalism. I love it.
uh,
Buy my albums, folks. Buy my albums. Yes,
Speaking of, you can pick up my album at
exactly. And any retailer out there,
uh,
exactly.
uh,
What is your number two?
the number two for me is Feliz Navidad by Jose
Oh,
Falashino.
I feel Puerto Rican, yes.
It's
Feliz Navidad.
again, it's fun for me because it sounds so different than so many other Christmas songs. And again, it's got that fun kind of vibe to it where you can kind of sing along to it as well, even though I don't know what any of the words mean. And it kind of builds up and it's fun. I like it. I like it.
Yes, of course, I grew up with it, obviously, the song.
Yeah.
Feliz Navidad y Prospero Año Nuevo. It's
Yeah.
basically he's saying Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, have a prosperous New Year.
Okay.
And he was a Puerto Rican singer who had a huge hit with his version of Light My Fire, which was from The Doors. He had his own
hmm
version that was really popular too. He was a blind singer and songwriter. Another one of those Stevie Wonder-esque, Ray Charles-esque people who was just super
Right.
talented. And
Right.
so against most people who didn't have a lot of hits, but he had a couple of major hits, and he had a Christmas hit. Like this is literally, I think it's amazing when you have a song that enters the lexicon of a holiday. Like it's, you know
Yes.
what I mean? Like it's that every year people go back to it because they just they naturally think of it. That
Yes.
must be very gratifying, but also very strange. You're like, again, writing a Christmas song is the easiest thing I know personally. But to have it become something where people are just like, that song has to be played every year during those 2-3 months. That must be really interesting.
Well, it's one too that I feel like just because maybe because it's not an English
Thank you.
word, people don't when they list their songs, a lot of times they don't list it as a song to play. But it's to me, it's so much fun. And again, it's one of those songs that people don't know the words, but they'll kind of say words that sound similar to what goes there, to go with
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
to me, it's really one of my all-time favorite songs, one of my all-time favorite Christmas songs. And it puts me in a good mood, even if I was to hear it non-Christmas time.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Now, also, before we get to our number ones, there are a lot of different Christmas albums, Christmas artists. I mean, everyone's done a Christmas song just about at this point. One of my favorites is John Lennon's song "War Is Over," Christmas and Christmas time. I love that
Hmm.
song. It's very it's a song about protest, so to speak, at Christmas time.
Yeah.
I like that one. But there's a lot of songs. A group called the Pet Shop Boys, who some of you may know from West End Girls, those songs.
Hmm.
They put out some Christmas music that I really liked a lot. Also, at one point, Christmas dance music. So there is Christmas dance music also. And on my Star Wars show, we're talking about when Star Wars went disco back in the 80s. And went Christmas. So I'll be talking about that this Christmas time on this network. So you have to wait for that. But I like that Christmas Star Wars album. I kind of like it. I mean, there's a lot of albums. I mean, from the soulful to the silly, to everything in between. There's so much fun Christmas music out there. A lot.
I think another one I love is Charlie Brown Christmas, and the songs and things there. A fun little side kind of thing. I DJ weddings a lot, and a lot of times, you have to play music for in different areas. There's like where
All right.
people get the actual ceremony portion. There's like a cocktail hour portion. There's a dinner portion. A lot of times I'll start the cocktail hour music with the little piano from Charlie Brown, because usually a lot of people aren't really in there for the first song, because you got to have music already playing. And for me, I just like it. So I'll play the
Oh,
Charlie Brown Christmas theme there just because I like it. And even if it's, like I said, April, I'll play it. And it always gets someone to look over like, is this Charlie Brown? I'm like, sure is.
it sure is. That's right.
But
Mhm. I like that.
because yeah, that first song, usually people haven't gotten over there yet. So you're
Yeah,
just kind of sitting there by yourself anyways. But
it's good background music. Just get people
yeah.
started. So our number one songs, kids, our number one songs, and I will do mine first because he mentioned it earlier, and it's one of his top 7. It's the most wonderful time of the year is my number one song of all time. Of
I
Christmas.
love it.
And
I
I like,
love it.
I'm gonna mention it because you mentioned Andy Williams. I'm gonna also mention Johnny Mathis's version, which is
Yes.
also very good too. And the Gap used his version and him in a commercial years ago during Christmas time. And it was great to see Johnny Mathis, who has another velvety smooth voice, another guy from
Hmm.
that era who doesn't get enough credit either. He's another one who was a soul crooner. He had Chances Are and all these other songs he had, but that just doesn't get enough attention either. He's my favorite male singer of all time, actually. So
Oh, very cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Johnny Mathis, and but his version, because I was a huge diehard Andy Williams version fan, and
Hmm.
when I heard his version, because it's similar but different. It's different. I love his version too. I love it. I like both versions.
Yeah.
But that's my number one
Yeah.
Christmas song. All my friends know I sing it. I sing it every year, all the time. It's my favorite song.
Yeah. Johnny Mathis, he's in my top 20 as well, for Sleigh Ride, actually.
Yes. That's I've heard. Yes, that's his version of that too. Yes.
Yeah. Johnny Mathis is great.
But
That's a great one.
that Christmas album was good too. Another Christmas album that's good. So that was a staple in my house also.
There's so many good Christmas
I
albums.
know.
It's
I know.
crazy. That's why I
I
say
know.
it's so easy to say, oh yeah, just make a Christmas song. But man, it's a tough market because there's so many good ones, especially if you're gonna try to make a cover. Like if you're gonna try to do a cover, so that's why you're smart, James. You're not you're making your own, because it'd be so tough to try to do Sleigh Ride and try to knock off someone like Johnny Mathis, or try to do It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year and knock off Andy Williams and Johnny Mathis and
Right.
the others that are out there. Because I'm sure Michael Bublé.
Right. Yes. Yes.
You know, if you can't, geez, there's so many good ones.
There is. There is.
But the one I picked for number one also has multiple versions, and we mentioned one of them already. I love Bruce Springsteen, but I'm going with Jackson 5. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yes.
Because I mean, I feel like Michael Jackson in that song, his voice, he sounds like, not only is that song fun, but he sounds like he's having the time of his life singing about it. Santa Claus, like he's just belting it out, and like you can imagine him just having a good time. And you hear stories about how they were brought up, but I feel like in that moment Michael Jackson was having the time of his life singing that song. And again, it has that excitement, as I talked about before, that anticipation of Santa Claus is coming, it's gonna be a good time, things are going well. Like that anticipation, that fun, that excitement, it to me, it pulls everything together as a perfect Christmas song, outside of All I Want for Christmas Is You, of course. But Santa Claus is coming to town. And I may have given Bruce Springsteen a little more credit, but I feel like I can't have two Santa Clauses coming to town on this list. That'd be a little ridiculous. But
why not? Because me say Claus you want. No.
It's like my list is actually just 3 songs, but done by different people.
Exactly. He's like, it's the same song.
Yeah.
I completely, that is my childhood. The Jackson 5 were such a big influence in my childhood because in many ways they were the first super black kid group. I mean, they were huge. That album also has I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. That was another big hit for them.
That's on my list too.
Yeah, that's another one. So I mean, like that. I mean, you're right. Michael Jackson. I mean, God.
Honestly, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus may have been in my top 7, but the fact that I already had a Jackson 5 in there, I think mentally just made me go, okay, let me break it up a little bit. Because like the Carpenters, like you mentioned, they have a whole album as well. You could fill up a top 7 with just Carpenters, but then you'd be like, yeah, well, this is kind of boring. I got to mix it up a little bit.
I agree. But you brought some good stuff in your list. But this one just touches my childhood and how they were the first black group that looked like me, that I had my fro too, like they did. And we were celebrating it. And Michael was so talented then. God bless America. He had a voice. He had a voice.
Well, and as you said before too, like, and we talked about you when he sings, you can feel it. Like like I said, I just talked about the joy he seems to have in his voice when he's singing this song. I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. The best part of that song to me is that you can hear how naive he is, but how serious he is about seeing this. And he's like, I really did see it. And it's like,
I know. It's
that joyful innocence. He felt it, even though he was a child. It felt like he really felt it. I think that's why he stood out amongst everyone else, and that's why the group that looks like me, the Osmonds, baby, didn't age.
Oh, I love the Osmonds. I like the Osmonds. I do like the Osmonds, though.
Yeah, you look like an MJ. I look more like a Donnie.
It's so. Oh my God, it's so funny. It's so true. But the Osmonds are great too, and they're friends. They're all friends.
Yeah,
both families are friends.
Yeah, I think his just. Even at that age, and his other songs as well, non-Christmas, is talking about like I Want You Back and all those other things. Like you can just
ABC,
he just had a he
just
had a way. Like it felt like he, as this kid who's never really experienced all this stuff, he sounds like he really has lived through those things, and that's what maybe he did. I don't know. He had a crazy childhood, like I said, he just had a way of conveying the emotion he was feeling beyond just being a great singer. There's a funny video, a little meme someone sent around of them recording. What was that song? It was a song where he sang one of the songs he did with a ton of other famous artists, and you can see him, like there's videos of them recording. You can see him sing his spot, and then as soon as he's done, it goes to someone else who was famous, but like not necessarily known as the best voice in the world. And you can see his face kind of go, I'm out. Whatever. I did my part. like
I've never seen that. Probably We Are the World, probably. We Are the World.
I think it was We Are the World. Yeah. And I think it was Cyndi Lauper or someone started singing after him. And no offense to Cyndi Lauper, but when you're comparing the two, it's like, No, it was a male voice. Anyway, the point is, I'll find it and send it
Yeah.
to you. But anyways,
Yeah.
the point is, it's funny because you can tell even he's kind of like, yeah, I'm the guy here. Come on.
I mean, Mike. I saw him in concert too. I saw the Jackson in concert in '84, and he had it. He had it. I mean, he really did. He really did have it. I'm so sad he's not here. But he did have it. And as a kid, it's a great choice. But all the songs from, I'll Be There, Skywriter, even his song, Ben, the two of us, no look. I mean, about a rat. It's about a rat. The song's about a rat.
Yeah.
And it's still, the song works. The song works. His voice is amazing on it.
Yeah, he is just there'll never be another one like Michael Jackson. I mean, just the overall talent that guy had. And I agree. Not much more to say.
Okay, that's good. I love it. Those are our Christmas songs plus other things we talked about in it too. We have, out of this episode, we probably have 5 more episodes to do with other stuff. I took notes, Jack. We'll come back and do more of these because I'm like, I have some time because I am curious to hear what your thoughts about some of this stuff, like especially grunge and and even the whole, you mentioned Limp Bizkit, so I'm talking about the rap rock thing. That to me is interesting too. With Limp Bizkit, and Korn was big for a minute, and all these all these groups are starting to do the Linkin Park and all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot that we need to talk about.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting time in America's history. The rap rock phases.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
It is.
No more. I mean, that's it. I mean, flopping fish in the video. I mean, there's all kind of stuff we got to talk about.
Right. But hey, anyone who wants to judge that time period can just wait. And I'm sure we'll look back at what's happening now and we'll all kind of, have the same thoughts. But
I'm already old thing already with the whole WAP thing. I couldn't get into the WAP song. So, I mean, I'm already feeling like that already. So I'm like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I get it. I totally get why it's popular and big. But yeah, you're right. It'll be one of those things people look back on and they're going to kind of like, WAP. Remember WAP? It'll be like Genuine Pony when
exactly. I cannot even hear that song anymore without thinking about Magic Mike. That's how crazy that is. Anyway, I can't say anything about it. Jack Farmer, thanks for doing this again with me. Tell
thanks for having me.
Folks where they can find all your goodness.
Yeah, you can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check out my Threadless store where I got some shirts available at realjackfarmer.threadless.com. You can check me out on anytimeradio.com every Monday, a new episode of different songs from different genres requested by listeners like you. Also, fun fact, it's now on Spotify. So if you have Spotify Premium, you can check it out. It's got to be Spotify Premium, though, because I like to make sure the artists get paid as well. And you can check me out if you're wrestling fans on United Wrestling Network on Fight TV every Tuesday, on Elite of the Week every Wednesday, and on Draped in Gold on Thursday, as well as the Everything Tournament, which is now on Thursdays, where we debate literally everything.
I one day want to get on that one day as a panelist. I think it's the most interesting show, folks. Trust me, you will not be sorry. This show is crazy talk.
You would be so good at it. Yeah,
I want to do it.
We will literally, it's debating things like what is better, Pancakes or the movie Endgame, and and
I love it.
Different things that make no sense whatsoever, but it creates very interesting conversations.
That's why I love it. It's just the randomness of it all and how serious you guys get as you talk about it. That's why I love it. Folks, you have to check this out. But I'll put stuff in the links below, of course, which is below, which means also follow, folks. Follow, subscribe, JLJ Media people. I don't do this for my health. I do this for you guys and, well, for me too. But for you guys out there, I have over 35 shows on my network, from Star Wars to soap operas and everything in between. I know, Jack. I'm tired. My baby Yoda's over here. I do all kinds of shows. Every day is something new coming from JLJ Media. I'm also becoming the king of audio dramas, and my new audio drama, Mistletoe Road, is out now. The soundtrack's coming out December 9th. My Christmas songs are There's Always Hope at Christmas, Santa, 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 Hurry Up Santa, and Hey, It's Christmas. All 3 of those songs are out on any streaming service platform you can think of. They're all out there. They're mostly dance. Well, They're Always Hope at Christmas is a slower pop song. Christmas song, but they're all out there under James Lott Jr. That's me. And you can follow me where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold, at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms, kids. Even TikTok. I'm on TikTok, people.
You must be a great TikTok follow.
I'm pretty much a star. I have over 3 million views and likes.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean
Wow.
it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I just
Yeah. Nothing's made me feel older in life than trying to do TikTok. I feel like
I I
I did
know.
not get
I know. They tell me I'm too old, but they all follow me. The kids love me on there. I'm
uh,
out there doing stuff. So I'm on TikTok, James Lott Jr. Follow me there for whatever goodness I have going on that channel, of course. And JLJ Media, subscribe. That's the channel. We're on all streaming services. Everyone, please take care of yourselves in this holiday season. Be safe. Enjoy the music. Put up the holiday decorations now. Do it. Who cares? And we'll see you next time.
mhm.